Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Clear Path Leadercast. Today, we're going to be focusing on an issue that I think is a real issue for a lot of business owners, which is just the feeling of being overwhelmed, where there's so much activity going around and you've let it all become centered on you. And you just have too many things coming at you, too much input, too many questions, too many conversations, and you quickly start to get to a sense of overwhelm where you feel like you're working more and more and getting less and less done because you're not working on your priorities, you're working on someone else's. So that's what we're going to spend our time talking about today. My name is Craig Anderson. I am the president and founder of Clear Path Coaching and Consulting. I have over 30 years experience working in leadership roles in Fortune 100 companies, to running my own small business and growing that business from $500,000 to $5 million in revenue in 3 years, positioning it for sale. And that experience and that time is where as we sold that company, I really wanted to find a way to help other leaders grow, because one of the things that I always found was that pathway in increasing roles of responsibility to increasing levels of leadership to sitting in the final chair of the CEO. All these pieces, there's struggles throughout the process. There's pieces you don't know. There's lessons that you have to learn, sometimes the hard way. And I have learned many of my lessons the hard way through some leadership mistakes that I made over my career. But the goal of Clear Path Coaching and Consulting is really to help set that clear path for you, to show you the best way to go forward for your business. And what I bring to the table for my clients is we help you make better decisions, because we help you think through those decisions. We help you put together the plans for people and planning and processes for your business. So that is really the focus of where we come alongside you and help you to grow. Let's jump into today's content. What we really want to talk about today is just this idea of feeling overwhelmed at work. And we promised in the promos for this, we'd give you 3 things that you could do to help you feel less overwhelmed at work. Let's talk about just how quickly you can become overwhelmed. Emails stack up, as we said, employee questions, lots of customer issues coming at you hard and fast. And if you're not really super effective, you find yourself working longer and longer hours. You're getting things done, but you're having to do it at 60 hours a week or more. You're not taking care of yourself and you're risking burnout. So what you need to do is identify and practice the techniques that are going to allow you to delegate more effectively, to manage your workload efficiently. And really the crucial piece of this is to learn how to say no more often. And that is a great lesson for all of us to learn. So let's first jump in and talk about delegating effectively. For you to delegate effectively, it's a big challenge, especially if you've been a business owner or entrepreneur who's really had your hands in the business, and you're making sure everything's happening and everything goes well because you're making sure it goes well. And that is a great approach as you're growing your business. But at a certain point, you go from being the facilitator and the enabler and the driver to the roadblock standing in the way of getting things done, because now you have way too many people and they're all coming to you on a regular basis. And if they can't get to you, things aren't getting done. So you don't want to give up that control. And that's a real struggle for a lot of people who are in this scaling spot where this is my baby. This is my business. This was the idea that I birthed, and I don't want to give up control. And you struggle to figure out how to delegate this. I hear this a lot is, I don't feel good about delegating. What that really means is you don't know how to delegate efficiently. I used to work with somebody, and she was a hard worker, but she was a leader. And I tell you, she had put together a process where she had her direct reports really working on a lot of projects for her. She delegated very effectively to those teams. And she was very clear on what the project was, the way she wanted it done, and made the goals, priorities, and decision-making processes clear. And as a result, the work got done more quickly because it wasn't just her. They didn't have to check with her every step of the way, but she made a very intentional effort to check in and have accountability processes. So she did touch base on a regular basis. And if you asked her what the status was of a project, she had a pretty good handle and a very current handle on what the status was of the project. But that's all by being an effective delegator. So how do you start to do that? So you've got to learn to give up control, and you've got to make sure your team is acting in alignment with you, which is the only way you're going to be able to give that control. So you have to figure out a way to trust them and give that control up. So what you need to do is first get clear on what your goals and priorities and processes are. You need to teach your people and repeat frequently how you want things done. what the priorities are, because when people know what the priorities are, that helps them in their decision-making process. When you're clear from your head and put it out on paper and in conversation of how you want things done, they know how to take the steps to move things forward. They're not checking with you. So it's a crucial piece for you to get clear on what the goals are, what the things are that matter, what the priorities are, what has to get done first in the process, how you want those things done. And when you can communicate that effectively, then they can start doing the work for you. You can delegate that with a level of safety and security. So I recommend the best way to get this done is to get really clear on a one-page plan for your business, which communicates this clearly, not just to your direct reports, but to your entire leadership team. But it's really important to get that clear and get that out there and communicate it often. It's not enough just to write it down. It's also important that you reiterate that on a consistent basis and help your people understand what it is. Because about the time you get sick of clarifying and communicating these priorities, these process and these goals, that's about when people first start to hear it. On average, people need to hear something like 12 times before it really becomes ingrained. And that's what you want. You want to ingrain in your company everything that's in your head about how you want things done. So people can parrot that back to you and start acting in that manner for you. So that's how you start to get control. You can start to delegate because now people know how you want to get things done. What do you do to check in? If you remember the story I told about my friend, my former colleague, is what she had a regular series of check-ins for her team. So it's really crucial that you have this regular series of check-ins. So one-to-ones every week where you really give them an opportunity to update you about what's going on. Team meetings. So not only are you getting updated, but they're communicating horizontally so everybody knows what's going on. Monthly check-ins on goals and objectives on the big picture stuff so you know things are moving apace. And it's important to have the whole team involved because you've got to get people out of the silo thinking and think more horizontally across the organization, because what one person does here or doesn't do here can impact everybody else in the organization. So that's a key piece. It's the clarity around how you want things done, what the priorities are and what the goals are, and then checking in on a regular basis so you make sure things are moving in the direction you want to. And you can course correct where things are not going exactly the right way. Educate, coach, and counsel your team so that they can do better the next time. Part 2 of our 3 parts on how you can get rid of this feeling of feeling overwhelmed or overloaded at work is building efficiency into your workday. So again, this goes back to what are your priorities? I really encourage all my clients to really get clear on their top 3 priorities for the week. So that determines the work that they know that has to get done over the course of that week. And this isn't the day-to-day stuff. These are the important projects that are going to move things forward, a client deal, a project, or something like that. So that is the big piece of what you need to do. So you get your top 3 priorities for the week. They align with your goals and your project priorities for the business as a whole. And then every day you set the big 3 things that you're going to do that are going to move that needle forward for the week. You've got to get these things scheduled. You've got to get these things written down and time in your schedule to work on them. Some days you're just going to have meetings all day. And the big 3 for that day are finishing all those meetings, finishing all those meetings, finishing all those meetings. But over the course of your week, you've got to make sure that you are carving out time for yourself. There's a couple different ways that leaders get ahead. Is one, by making sure that everything they want done gets done. The other is by making sure they do everything that either their bosses, but not the leaders, or their employees want them to do. You really want to be in that former category that you're driving the agenda and you're moving things forward. So hold yourself accountable to getting this big 3 done. Then when within those time blocks that you're creating is getting really focused, and it's hard, people talk about we have attention spans less than a goldfish as humans right now. I don't know how true that is, but what I do know is focused effort is something that's really crucial for you to be able to get your projects done. So I really encourage my clients to use the Pomodoro method, which is started out with a timer that looked like a tomato, hence Pomodoro, but really working in 25-minute bursts, staying focused. Don't let your phone distract you. Don't let your email distract you. Turn all those things off, or at least turn them all down, and focus on that project for 25 minutes. And then give yourself a 5-minute break. Then come back another 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and then do it again. So you really get some concerted effort done. And then at that 3rd round, give yourself maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe take a walk around the office or something like that to kind of re-energize you and pull you away from that. But that 25 minutes of focused effort is really what's going to start getting you moving things forward more quickly and getting that focused effort done so that your time is well spent for the times that it is that you're spending on these projects. The last piece that I'm going to recommend to you is the importance of a disciplined schedule. Really work and own your calendar. Don't just throw your calendar wide open so anybody can drop a meeting anytime. I used to work with one guy who it was amazing to me how he did it, but he had strict discipline around his calendar that he had 15 minutes between all of his meetings so he could be sure that he was prepared, that he was getting all the information he needed, and he walked in fresh to each meeting. That's a crucial part. That's a pretty extreme example, but it worked for him and it made him very engaged in every meeting he was in because he came in with at least a breath or two between the two meetings and had some preparation time between the two meetings. In any case, protect your schedule. One of the people that you may want to hire early on is someone to help you protect your schedule if you have an assistant or someone on your team whose job that is. But that is an important piece of really figuring out what would be my ideal week. You're not always going to get your ideal week, but think about that ideal week and then every week strive to get close to that. So block out times for the must do meetings, for project time, break times, and even just the walking around to give yourself a break time. When do you arrive to work? When do you leave work? Schedule in your startup activities and your shutdown activities for the day so you walk away from the desk or come to the desk every day feeling fresh and organized. This is really important now where you've got all the distractions of a home environment in many cases. So the idea of getting control of your schedule, getting focused and setting weekly priorities is another way that you can start reducing that feeling of being overwhelmed at work. So let's finalize and hit our third point. And this is probably the most important point because for these other things to work, this is the skill and talent you have to develop. And that is the ability to say no. There are always valuable things. There are always competing priorities for your time, and there's always something that people are going to want you to do. So just accept that. Accept that you can't do everything. You can't be everything. You can't cover everything for all your people. Now, that's going to be less of an issue when you start effectively delegating and helping your team figure out how to make decisions so you don't have to make all those decisions. But you need to learn to say no to those kind of wild projects that come in from the side that distract you from your core goals of what you're trying to do. So that's number one is you have to recognize that it is an important thing to do and that you're probably not very good at. Second, you have to commit to making those decisions on those things you're going to say yes to about how they're going to align with your weekly big three, your quarterly goals, and your annual goals. Are they moving the ball forward on the things that are crucial for you? That is such a big piece of thinking about, how those things align with what it is you're trying to do, because it'll just pull you off track if you're finding way too many things to say yes to that aren't part of the core of what it is you're trying to do. And then, another one that sneaks up on a lot of people is somebody may want to ask you to commit to doing something 3 months from now. Hey, I need you in this 4-hour meeting 3 months from now on a Tuesday afternoon. Your natural inclination is to say, yeah, that's 3 months from now. I'm not even going to worry about it. But your schedule 3 months from now for that specific week is going to look very much like your schedule right now. So a good mantra to have is if someone came to me today and asked me to do that thing tomorrow, would I do it? Would I make it a priority? And that's an important piece of an important way to start to think about that. So is it worth your time and effort? And does it fit into your schedule for the week? And can you delegate that to somebody else? That's another way. Maybe it's not no, maybe it's say, no, I need you to talk to so-and-so about it. So then just making sure you're not falling into the trap of agreeing to things that are way far out because they just don't seem like that big of a deal right now. So those are really the core things for you to stop feeling so overwhelmed at work. And it takes a lot of discipline. Another comment that came in off the blog post over in the group this week was, somebody said, well, we just can't afford to hire people to delegate to. And perhaps you can't, but we're in a world where you can find a lot of virtual assistants. You can find incremental marketing agencies that fractional CFOs, different people who will give where you can buy small chunks of their time as opposed to huge chunks of their time. And that's a great way to look at how you can start to delegate, but on a much more scaled down version. If you're watching this on a replay in the group, hit #replay and let me know what your question is. Happy to answer it for you. So thanks a lot, everybody. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.